2014 was a good year to be a rail fan. There was plenty of steam to be found, and passenger extras were in abundance as well. Some old friends returned to steam in 2014, including a 1941 Berkshire and one of the most famous excursion engines to ever pull a fan trip in the U.S. Car owners operated specials on the rear of Amtrak trains, and modern locomotives wearing classic paint schemes could be found heading up passenger trains on the main line. In the next 90 minutes, we'll see excursions in Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. We'll climb in the cab of a 1959-built Alco-designed passenger locomotive. We'll see a pair of Van Swearingen Berkshires under steam. We'll see 4 different smaller steam locomotives in operation. And we'll see the Southern Railway number 4501 as the star of the old Southern Steam program return to operation in time for fall excursions. Come along with us for a look at steam specials and passenger extras in 2014. Southern Railway 280, number 630, was scheduled to kick off Norfolk Southern's slate of 21st century steam excursions on March 29th. When it became clear that boiler work would keep the 630 out of action for the first excursions, Norfolk Southern had a plan B. Southbound from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Attala, Alabama, Southern Railway Heritage Unit number 8099 is on the point. The 8099 is a contemporary General Electric ES44AC painted in the classic colors of the Southern's passenger diesels. The scheme once adorned Alco PAs and electromotive E&F units and still looks good today on a state-of-the-art GEVO locomotive. The next morning, the clouds are a memory as 8099 leads another excursion out of Chattanooga. Crossing the lift bridge over the Tennessee River, today's train is bound for Oneida, Tennessee, on the former Southern Railway's Rat Hole Division. Returning to Chattanooga, the train crosses the high bridge over the New River near Robbins, Tennessee. Pere Marquette, number 1225, was built by the Lima Locomotive Works in October 1941. She was retired in 1951 and spent a number of years on the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing. It was on campus that the first steps in her rebuilding were made, but it was a change of address and a decade before the rebuild was complete. She returned to steam in 1985 and operated until 2010 when she came due for her 15-year rebuild. She returned to steam in time to be ready for operation at Train Expo in Owasso, Michigan in June 2014. Also featured in a starring role at Train Expo was Nickel Plate Road number 765. The 765 has kept busy in recent years since emerging from a second rebuild in 2009. Our next stop is the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where we find former Southern Railway 280 number 401 in operation. The locomotive was built by Baldwin in 1907 and has been operating at the museum since 2010. She is scheduled to operate at the museum on the third weekend of each month from May through October. – 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « 」 « On September 14, 2014, the Illinois Central Railroad Heritage Association ran a special as a part of their annual meeting from Chicago to Carbondale, Illinois. The special consisted of 3 of Iowa Pacific's restored passenger cars, resplendent in the chocolate and orange of the Illinois Central streamliners of yesteryear. The cars were operated on the rear of the southbound Amtrak Saluki. We catch the train at speed north of Carbondale. We're back at Monticello, Illinois during railroad days for a look at an Alco in operation. Canadian National number 6789 was built in April of 1959. The FPA4 was a Canadian passenger variation of the Alco cab unit design. Only 34 of the A units were built, all for Canadian National. The FPA4 was a more modern locomotive than the Alco cab units built in the U.S., featuring the more reliable 251 engine introduced after cab units ceased production south of the border. The FPA4s lasted in mainline passenger service into the late 80s in Canada, and thanks to their late retirement, many found homes at tourist railroads and museums throughout the United States. The 6789 seldom operates at Monticello, where EMD locomotives get most of the work. In 2014, however, Wabash F7 number 1189 was receiving an overhaul in Altoona, Pennsylvania, courtesy of Norfolk Southern, following an appearance at Spencer, North Carolina. Needing a passenger engine for railroad days, the 6789 got her turn in the spotlight.
Tower to 6789 train number.
Southern Railway steam power was once again in the spotlight in 2014 as Mikado number 4501 returned to operation late in the year following a multi-year rebuild. The 4501 was Southern's very first Mikado, built by Baldwin in 1911. Retired by the Southern in 1948, she was purchased off the deadline at Princeton, Indiana by Shortline, Kentucky and Tennessee. She operated out of Stearns, Kentucky for another 15 years before being purchased by Paul Merriman. She was moved to Chattanooga, where she became the cornerstone of the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. From 1966 to 1994, the 4501 was the original star of the Southern Railway steam program. Following the end of the program in 1994, the 4501 ran at the museum until she was taken out of service in need of an overhaul in 1998. We see the 4501 in action on a pair of October excursions between Chattanooga and Summerville, Georgia.